the magnitude of the problem that exists now. And since I'm a Fatah member, I knew that Yazid Sayegh will be criticizing our electronic capabilities. So I decided to come with a PowerPoint presentation that has some animation in it. So to defy the theory that we Fatah members are not that active electronically. Anyway, let's get going. So that's the map of the West Bank. This is only a case. I mean, we can talk about Gaza, but I've taken this case just to show you the Israeli settlements and wall. Please forgive the typos. Huh? The source is the Negotiation Support Unit, figures in 2009. And just to show you where things are, land confiscated west of the wall. As you know, the wall is, Israel is building about 730 kilometers of a wall along the West Bank. 570 kilometers have almost been completed. So land confiscated west of the wall is about 12% of the West Bank. Settlement blocks east of the wall are about 8%. And land used along the Jordan Valley, used meaning that either they're military bases or kibbutz or settlements, is about 26% of the West Bank, leaving the Palestinians of a land that does not exceed 54% of the West Bank. So you talk about state and geographical contiguity, I think you need to think again, because the problems are immense on the ground. That my friend Afif Safieh, who's amongst the audience, used to say that we, the Palestinians, may have to live up with the Swiss cheese. I think even the worst form of cheese does not really relate to the map you're seeing. It's worse, where the Palestinians get the holes and the Israelis get the cheese. In any case, let's go to the next slide. And I want to show you how the map gets more deformed as we go along. I want to show you, as you see, the roads, you know, because you think of settlements as blocks, but how would settlers get to the settlements? They need to use roads, and the roads would constitute some sort of a security regime that mainly gives the Palestinian only 40% of the land. That's why the famous 40% figure comes up whenever Peres talk about the transitional or the temporary state. Now, there's 24 tunnels connecting Palestinian localities. And I will, before I go to the next slide, I want to say that the idea here is to show you realities, and maybe in the discussion we can focus more on the solutions. Now, remember 24 tunnels connecting Palestinian localities, meaning that there's somebody is moving overground and someone is doing the underground. And if we go to the next slide, you see a prime example in Beit Lahem. This is the Jabal Abu Ghnaim settlement, the Har Homa, and the Palestinian localities underneath. The straight road is used by settlers to get to Har Homa. The one beneath is used by Palestinians. Now, there's a big difference between the two roads. If we look at the picture, as you could see, these are the tunnels that the Palestinians use to get to their localities. So this is something that really affects geographical contiguity for a state to exist. But I would steal from my colleague Saeed Haifa the term dream. I, for one, would like to be positive. I never think negative. I want to say that a Palestinian state indeed has to have sovereignty, yes. Has to live in peace with the neighbors, yes. Has to be democratic. And I want to say, as a loyal Fatah member, is that democracy is indeed an internal affair and not an external favoritism. So Hamas has to be included. If you want peace, if you want consensus, everybody should contribute to making this cake bigger for all of us to accept and enjoy. I would say that we have always been dwelling on donor-driven support I would like to see a state that focuses on development. So we're not a burden, we are not relief-driven, we are a developed state. And in that regard, coming from the IT field and have nothing to do with politics, I would say that I would like to see a knowledge-productive society that contributes to intellectual capacity in the region and beyond. And on that note, I'm happy to report that 2 days ago in Istanbul, we've launched the Palestine, All for Palestine network. You can look it up in the website, again, Dr. Sayegh, and you will be a prominent member of it, if you do well today. It's all number 4 Palestine, allforpalestine.org, and it is designed to connect Palestinians regardless of the political school of thought, so to focus on Palestine and use their intellectual capabilities to benefit the homeland. On a final note, I want to say that today is a certainly memorable day, because today we have the preparations for the Arab Summit, and there's a lot to be said, either the breakdown of the talks, of the peace process, or the breakthrough. But the chances for a breakthrough are getting slimmer, so we have to remain hopeful that something would happen. But there has never been in our lives as Palestinians a date that has not been special. And I would like to end on a note that my grandmother used to say, Inshallah, أيامكم أحسن من أيامنا. She used to say, hopefully your days will be better than ours, only to find out that she was lucky, but she didn't know. And we are miserable, but we know. Shukran.
I'd like to pick up on 1 or 2 things and then open it to the audience, and indeed, we will have Israelis participate in the discussion. One thing that became very clear from all your comments is, as Sabri said at the very end, we are miserable and we know. And Diana, you started by saying you don't even believe anymore that a Palestinian state will come into existence. Now, if I came from planet Mars and were thrown into this session and saw the leading representatives and the vanguard of the future Palestinian state, I would think that's quite depressing. Mm-hmm. How are you ever going to achieve a better future if you're saying, you know, we're depressed, we're miserable, we don't even think this is ever going to lead anywhere? Don't you think despite the miserable conditions, you have to aspire and you have to articulate a positive vision for the Palestinian state, rather than sit back and say, it's never going to happen? Diana?
Well, I hope I don't look depressed, because I'm certainly not depressed, but I am very realistic about what I think is happening.